oh, you know, the working man and all that. 12 billion quid is what the government give to the railway companies. They're subsidised by the taxpayer. So the train drivers are taking taxpayers' money. That's your money and my money and Dawn's money. It's, you know.
Keir Starmer and his party really want the people to think that they care about our money and don't want to waste it. So they decided to create a new office with an optimal value for money. And they appointed this man. David Goldstone will receive £950 a day, which it will allow them to earn more. That's £250,000 a year.
You can become a train driver.
And the reason I say bullying is because, of course, the train driver unions know that the country closes down if they stop driving trains. But pensioners can't go out and say, if we stop doing anything, the country closes down. That's why it's bullying of the Labour government to say, we'll give in to the train drivers, but we're not giving in to all those pensioners for 2 reasons.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if the government completely stopped listening to the voice of the people? So, this is already happening, and the consequences are horrible. Across the UK, people are beginning to seriously question whether Keir Starmer's leadership is really what our country needs at this difficult time. Cuts that hit the most vulnerable segments of society and new taxes that stifle small businesses are causing a storm of discontent. Society can no longer stand aside, it requires change. At the moment, there is a powerful and persistent call throughout the country. The British want Keir Starmer to resign.
You believe the tough measures, as you call them, and getting rid of winter fuel allowance for 10 million pensioners is the right thing to do?
Absolutely. It's
Why?
the best thing they have done, because people do not need this money.
You campaigned for it, you fought for it, you voted for it, and now it has arrived. Change begins now.
People from all walks of life are becoming increasingly frustrated by what they consider unfulfilled promises, and by the fact that the leadership does not seem to hear their voices at all. Calls for resignation are no longer just a quiet whisper, they are a powerful cry that resounds throughout the country. Today we will dive into how Keir Starmer's policies led to this critical moment, and what fateful consequences the Labour Party may face in the future. One of the most shocking steps was the decision to reduce fuel subsidies. Yes, exactly those subsidies that were the last hope for our elderly citizens, who are already in a vulnerable position. This decision causes not only anger, but also deep sadness in the hearts of people who now feel abandoned and forgotten.
But from growth, and yesterday's budget completely undermined, ran totally counter to that argument and that promise. Why should people trust you?
What we did in the budget yesterday was do the only thing that a responsible government would do, which was to fix the damage that we inherited.
Imagine that you have worked all your life, dreaming of enjoying the well-deserved comfort in your old age, and now you are faced with a terrible choice to keep warm or to eat. For pensioners, many of whom are barely making ends meet, this decision becomes a real blow to the gut, tearing the heart. How would you feel if your grandparents found themselves in such a desperate situation, left with nothing, without support and hope? This is not just an abstract problem, it is a real, acute pain and suffering experienced by our older generations, and this should cause us not only sympathy but also anger. We cannot remain indifferent to this tragedy, which affects the lives of people who have put their whole soul into work for a bright future.
You're conveniently forgetting the central argument you made ahead of the election. That was why growth was going to pay for public services. That is why you argued that Labour could be trusted. That is why you argued you were different from Jeremy Corbyn. And now you've just forgotten about that argument.
Not at all. This is a budget for growth. And as you'll see from the growth forecasts, the significant growth in the early years, it flattens a bit, and then over 10 years there's growth again. That's not the height of our...
It becomes absolutely clear that human suffering is real and unbearable. This is not just a political game, it's about the fate of real people, their hopes and dreams. Cuts, especially in the run-up to winter, look from the leaders as something absolutely unacceptable and, frankly, heartless. Cries for help are heard not only from pensioners, but also from all citizens who feel abandoned, left to their fate. Their despair and pain cannot leave us indifferent.
Need it. That's not true. I mean, I've read some articles whereby over 2 million pensioners losing that allowance is the difference between almost eating and heating.
Right.
You know, not everyone's within their threshold.
Yeah.
And it's a nefarious policy by the Labour government. They're trying to roll back a bit and muddy the waters and so on. But ultimately, what they have done is a politics of cruelty against millions of pensioners.
Starmer is facing not only a negative public reaction, but also open discontent among members of his party, which makes the situation even more alarming. Many Labour MPs are not shy about criticising his policies, especially on sensitive issues such as welfare cuts and austerity measures. Labour has always promised to protect the vulnerable, but it is these very people who are now having to bear the brunt of these crushing cuts. This led to a catastrophic drop in support. Labour's approval rating collapsed by 14% in just a month. Understand that a decrease of 14% is not just numbers, it is a loud alarm signal for any political leader who risks losing the trust and hope of those who need him.
Well, during the election campaign, Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves said that nothing in their plans required tax increases that went over and above what was in their manifesto that was quite limited. And from all of the pre-briefing we've seen, it now looks very likely, near certain, there are going to be enormous tax increases coming, despite the fact they told the public in the election campaign that wouldn't happen. So I think they lied to the British public, they misled the British public in order to get elected, and now we're seeing their true colours, now we're seeing what their plans really are.
Now we are convinced that we are in for a significant tax increase, despite all their promises made to the public during the election campaign. This is not just a deception, it is a betrayal of the British public, which was misled for the sake of their own ambitions. Now we see their true faces and understand what their intentions really are. And that's not all. Shocking reports have emerged of lavish gifts worth more than £100,000 that Starmer's wife has received since he took office. Imagine this: while ordinary families are forced to save on basic necessities, the leaders of the Labour Party are enjoying a life of luxury. This is just an outrageous picture. A party that claims in words to protect the interests of the working class, in fact turns out to be completely disconnected from the real problems of the people they are supposed to serve. And it's not just retirees who suffer from their decisions, small business owners are also feeling the brunt of these soulless measures. How can you remain indifferent to this? Labour's latest tax policy is dealing a severe blow to small businesses, depriving entrepreneurs of vital tax benefits. Now business owners who risked everything for their dreams and worked tirelessly are facing a new, overwhelming obstacle. Previously they could take advantage of a 10% capital gains tax rate of up to £10 million, but now this limit has been reduced to a measly £1 million. Imagine that you've invested your whole life in building a business, and suddenly the government is taking away most of your hard-earned profits. It's like studying hard, finding a decent job, and then realizing in an instant that a significant portion of your salary is being taken away from you. For small businesses that are already struggling with limited profitability, this is not just a failure, it is a real threat to their existence and future success.
And I'll be honest, I'd love to have a glass of whatever that 17% have been drinking. And the Prime Minister's personal poll ratings have fallen to, wait for it, -30. That makes Prince Andrew look like a national hero. I've been warning about Sir Keir Starmer's dubious character for years, given his support for the truly dangerous Jeremy Corbyn, his efforts to reverse Brexit, his taking of the knee to the woke mob during BLM, his inability to define what a woman is, and, in the absence of compelling data, calling for more of those ruinous COVID lockdowns in order to look prime ministerial. It's my view that our new Prime Minister is a narcissistic, greedy, thin-skinned, dishonest man.
Labour promised to become the party of the people which will listen, understand and support those who need it most. However, unfortunately, they are acting completely differently now. With each new decision, Starmer's leadership moves further away from the interests of ordinary people. Retirees, small business owners, farmers and families are all feeling the severe pressure. For many who sincerely believed that the Labour Party would bring long-awaited positive changes, there is a growing sense of the deepest betrayal and disappointment. These are not just words, they are the real pain and anxiety of people who hoped for support. How do you feel about this video? Share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.